Thanks for joining us here on your Friday at 4 o'clock. I'm Joe Paris.
I'm Brenda Rodriguez. We start with continuing coverage here. The man accused of shooting and killing conservative activist Charlie Kirk has been arrested. Utah Governor Spencer Cox announced the arrest of Tyler Robinson at the press conference today. At the briefing, Cox said a family member of Robinson reached out to a family friend last night who then contacted authorities. Officials believe the suspect acted alone in the shooting. Investigators say that Robinson etched disturbing messages onto the shell casings he used during the shooting. At the briefing, the governor called on everyone to choose a path away from violence in the wake of the assassination.
I hear all the time that words are violence. Words are not violence. Violence is violence. And there is one person responsible for what happened here, and that person is now in custody and will be charged soon and will be held accountable. And yet, all of us have an opportunity right now to do something different.
FBI director also spoke at the briefing, thanking President Trump for his support in the investigation and speaking directly to Kirk. Local law enforcement thanked people in the state and across the country for their prayers.
The assassination of the influencer comes after a series of incidents involving political figures. Most recently, a Democratic lawmaker and her husband were killed in Minnesota. And there were, of course, 2 assassination attempts against President Donald Trump. The rise in political rhetoric and violence has Americans on edge and lawmakers on Capitol Hill concerned about their own safety. Now, leaders from both sides of the aisle calling on Americans for calm. NBC's Melanie Zanona brings us details from Washington.
The brash daylight attack that claimed Charlie Kirk's life not only shocked the country, but also shook political leaders.
It is also much bigger than an attack on an individual. It is an attack on all of us.
Investigators say the suspect in Kirk's shooting, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, had become more vocal about his political views in recent years, including about Kirk, an ardent supporter of President Trump and conservative influencer. Not long after Kirk was killed, the president assigned responsibility.
We have a radical left group of lunatics out there, just absolute lunatics.
But also saying to Kirk's supporters,
he was an advocate of nonviolence. That's the way I'd like to see people respond.
Angry rhetoric and violence is on the rise. Kirk's assassination is just the latest in a growing list of violence aimed at political figures, starting with 2 assassination attempts on President Trump's life. The suspect killed by Secret Service. Most recently, a gunman killing a Minnesota Democratic lawmaker and her husband. And the firebombing of Pennsylvania's Democratic Governor Josh Shapiro's home when his family was asleep. No one was injured. Now, as Americans are on edge, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are calling for calm, including the House Speaker Emerita, whose husband was attacked.
We just have to change the rhetorical nature of our debates.
And in a political situation, to blame an opponent or an adversary, I think there's enough responsibility for everybody to bear some of it.
Today's arrest brings some sense of security to lawmakers on Capitol Hill.
This morning, the apprehension of the suspect will ease a lot of nerves in Congress.
And perhaps a path to nonviolent discourse.
We will never be able to solve all the other problems, including the violence problems that people are worried about, if we can't have a clash of ideas safely and securely. Even, especially those ideas with which you disagree.
Melanie Zanona, NBC News, Washington.
U.S. Capitol Police say they've seen the number of threat assessments go up this year. They're on track to reach 14,000 by the end of the year, which would be more than the last 8 years combined.